Let go, pass through. Let go, pass through. Let go, pass through. My aunt, who is 90 years old, asked me to send her a postcard.
Questa strada, questa alla sinistra, dritto, dritto, dritto.
Abstract art is it's so hard. So hard. It's just so hard. Abstract art is so hard. So hard. Hard. Really hard. So hard. Really, so hard. Really hard. Really hard. So hard. Really, so hard. It's just so hard. So hard. Realistic art is so easy.
No man's an island. No man's an island. No man's an island except for Manhattan.
Abstract art is so hard. Abstract art is so hard. Abstract art, it isn't accidental. It just isn't. It's just not accidental. No. Abstract art is not accidental. You could argue that all painting is abstract, but that would be like saying that a toy plane is the same as a passenger plane. Over a number of years, I began to get lumps in the fingers and palm of my right hand. They took x-rays and told me it was arthritis. I did my own research to discover that it was actually Dupuytren's contracture, or Viking's disease, a hardening of the tendons in the palm and fingers that forces the fingers to bend permanently towards the palm of the hand. They said that there was no known cause or cure, and the only option was surgery. They did a terrible job. I was afraid I would never be able to paint again. That was my main concern. After 3 months, I was able to return to painting. Let's bring art back from obscure abstraction to heartfelt reality.
Waiting, idiots! Shut up, idiots! Idiots, help me! Help me, idiots! Help me! Help me, idiots! Idiots, help me!
The reason abstract art is obscure, accidental, and non-specific is so that it is not racist, not sexist, not ageist, not hierarchical, not elitist, not accountable, not responsible, not offensive, not discriminatory, not real. Many abstract painters started out painting realistically and then gave up the challenge and took the easier route of abstract art. I started out being indoctrinated into doing abstract painting, and then through a personal organic growth turned to realistic painting. When you see a landscape in a painting, you want to go there. But when you see an abstract painting, realistic painting has now been adopted by cake makers and tattoo artists. Get closer to nature, and nature will get closer to you. The one regret I do have is that I didn't have children. I think that is the main reason for being alive, to have children, to procreate, and then that means that you're part of the race. Otherwise, you're not part of the process of being alive. But it seems that more and more people are stepping out of that. You know, they don't want to procreate. They don't want to take it's quite a commitment, you know, to be a parent. It's very difficult. Nobody wants to do that anymore. Everybody just wants to do their own thing. When I was 16, I went to Lady Macquarie's chair to draw the harbour.
I became obsessed with drawing the movement of the waves. I drew faster and faster, trying to keep up with the movement of the waves. The faster I drew, the more the sound of the waves and the wind disappeared, till there was complete silence, and I had completely disappeared. I was somewhere outside my body, watching my hand, drawing faster than a moving train.
Time and time again, the lesson is the same. Go within, let go of everything and go within. Go within, go.
What? Unnecessary art for unnecessary people by unnecessary people. As below, so above.
Time and time again, the lesson is the same. Go within.
They have money?
Huh?
They have money?
All his life, writer Thomas Hardy was afraid to touch and to be touched by the things he desired. I received my first love letter when I was 18. It made me feel like light was streaming into every dark corner of my life, and I went out and bought myself a white shirt. Then I decided to paint a whole series of realistic seascapes that portrayed a whole day from dawn to dusk, the day I felt Edith seemed to have given birth to in me. I dreamt I was walking through a field with a friend. We were singing two Mozart arias interspliced. Pre-trans fallacy. Pre-consciousness, consciousness, trans-consciousness. Two possible errors. Reduction of trans-consciousness to pre-consciousness, elevation of pre-consciousness to trans-consciousness. Primitivism is not trans-consciousness. Accidentalism is not trans-consciousness. Nihilism is not trans-consciousness. Last week I was a dog. This week I am a girl. Next week I will be a robot. Don't give me synthetic hormones. Being a child is not transgenderism. At my local supermarket, one prepared curry is $9.98. One chocolate croissant is $2.99. Total $12.97. Plus tax $1.29. Total $14.26. At Trader Joe's a few blocks away, one prepared curry is $4.49. Two chocolate croissant is $3.49. Total $7.98, no tax. Free speech is freedom to cheat, deceive, and steal from others. Marcel Duchamp gave up painting and just played chess. His whole life became an artwork. But you're not a painter unless you're painting every day. If Cy Twombly invented a new language of art, how come no one can read this new language? Is it because it's not a language, but just autistic scribble? When I was at art school, an outside assessor told me I could get someone else to paint for me. Instead of showing me how to paint better, which he could not do, he told me not to paint because it had all been done before. And this is what they call education.
They take away all our thinking and call it education. They take away all our choices and call it government. They take away all our wonder and call it religion. They take away all our loving and call it marriage. Where would we go if we could? What would we do if we could? What would we be if we could? I know I could move a mountain. I know I could paint a feather in a world the sun on a Wednesday morning in June.
When I was young, I was told that imagination was the most important thing. As I grew to be more independent, and I drew and painted the things around me realistically, I discovered that imagination without facts was delusion and a form of mental illness, since it places one's own invented reality over and above tangible reality. Now I know that imagination is the cause of all problems. What the heck? Heck! 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 It took me 4 years to paint like Raphael, but a lifetime to paint like a child. Picasso. Maturity is not being a child. To create one's own world takes courage. Georgia O'Keeffe. It's cowardly to create your own world. It takes courage to see the world as it is. Every good painter paints what he is. Jackson Pollock. Every good painter paints what is. Artists can do whatever they want. Marina Abramovich. Real artists are not petulant. A work of art which isn't based on feeling isn't art at all. Paul Cézanne. A work of art that is based on feelings is false and childish. If I create from the heart, nearly everything works. If I create from the head, almost nothing. Marc Chagall. Best to create from the eye. Learn the rules like a pro, so you can break them like an artist. Pablo Picasso. Learn the rules to break your childish willfulness. A real painting has depth of field, perspective, vanishing point, character, narrative, composition, illusion, proportion, focal point. Fake painting is just surface. First, you have to learn to watch. Then you will see. First, you have to learn to watch. Then all problems will disappear.
I stopped doing realist in college. Too much work.
When you are creative, God passes through you and rejuvenates you. Just passing wind through some. Experience trumps philosophy. Om. New York, New York. "20 seconds is all it takes, so wash your hands for goodness sakes. Keep your smile a safe space. Remember, do not touch your face. Think of others and practice social distancing. Staying home saves lives. Stay home, stop the spread. Subways are for essential travel only. Please keep at least 6 feet away from others. Do the right thing. Don't ride the subway if you don't have to. Essential worker? Yes? Okay to ride. Essential worker? No? Why are you even reading this? Go home. Stay home. Stop the spread. Keep them covered. Cover your nose and mouth with a mask or cloth when you ride. Stay home if possible, even if you are healthy. All non-essential businesses are closed. Maintain a minimum of 6 feet, 2 meters between yourself and others. Don't shake hands. Instead, wave or elbow bump. Apart, 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 apart. Be a part of the solution. Stay apart. 6 feet is 6 feet. This far, this far, this far, this far, this far, this far. 6 feet is 6 feet. This far. It's against the law to feed pigeons. communism is fascism. Not only do I live across the street from the building where Duchamp lived for 20 years when he lived in New York, but the floor tiles on the floor that lead to my apartment feature a silhouette of Duchamp's profile. Hi, sailor. Hi, digger. Heidegger, wanker. Heidegger, Foucault, Derrida, blockheads. Kant, Hegel, Marx, Lacan, blockheads. If you don't like being marked, then you are the problem. I often paint two identical paintings side by side to test and challenge myself. It is difficult and in fact impossible to match brushstrokes exactly, no matter how experienced and determined you might be, because paint has a fluidity all its own that makes it impossible to control beyond a certain point. There is always a factor of accident involved. So you can imagine that painting over Leonardo's brushstrokes to restore, with nothing to compare it to, leads to an utter defilement, not a restoration. Leonardo's Last Supper painting has been restored several times. It had all the cracked and peeling areas filled in and then completely covered in oil in 1726. Those additions were then scraped off with an iron scraper. Then the whole painting was washed with sodium hydroxide and then liberally repainted in 1770. There was an attempt to remove the whole painting from the wall, and when that didn't work, the removed bits of paint were glued back onto the wall in 1821. Shellac was used to rebind the painting back onto the wall in 1947. Numerous layers of paint, shellac and oil were removed using microscopic vision, and damaged or unrecognized sections were filled in with watercolor from 1976 to 1999. It is safe to say that nothing of Leonardo's original painting remains. All we are left with is The Last Supper by Maria and Giovanni, and many, many reworkings. When I feel emotionally or mentally disabled, I like to draw to show myself that I am able. Drawing requires a lot of coordination between eyes, hands, and mind. It is a way to wake up the system and can be quite confronting and both exhilarating and exhausting. It involves aligning line, shape, size, proportion, and perspective into an integrated whole. It can be quite a difficult task, but provides a great reward. The tangible evidence that you can see, understand, and replicate what you see. I really enjoy drawing profiles, forming the shape and flow of the brow, the nose, the mouth, and the chin is like skiing down an alpine slope, or climbing up Mount Everest, or swimming the English Channel, only much more difficult. Better to write for yourself and have no public than to write for the public and have no self. Cyril Connolly, The New Statesman, 1933. Warhol took a can of soup and put it in an art gallery. They call that art in America. The art of hoodwinking. Hooray for Hollywood! Not. And he didn't even paint it, but used the same industrial screen printing process used to make the original Campbell's soup label. Jesus! Cock soup reaches parts of you other soups can only dream of reaching. It's amazing how a big fat check can ease the pain.
Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office. Got it.
Sheriff's office.
Bathroom's clear.
Skilled artist, where are you?
Sheriff's office.
Which way's the basement? This one?
Skilled artist, where are you?
Steep.
Sheriff's office.
The face of the skilled artist disappearing.
The greatest what? The greatest what?
The greatest dude.
E allora posso dire senz'altro che il vero fascismo è proprio questo potere delle serietà di consumi che sta distruggendo l'Italia.
We all want more money, more food, more clothes, more space, more memories, more experiences, more stories, more depth. Yet so much of modern art has no depth, nothing tangible, nothing real, nothing to relate to, nothing desirable, nothing valuable. Lying to my face.
You can look at one of these paintings and think some jerk just took a tube of white paint and spread it on a canvas, but it's not actually that easy.
Priming a canvas is not a painting.
With a very kind of absent blank painting, you have to do a lot more work in some ways.
I thought the painter was supposed to do the work.
Square. Squirrel.
Squirrels.
Some people argue that abstraction has been around since cave painting. But decoration is not the same as abstraction. Geometric marks and tribal insignia are not the same as deliberate, childlike obfuscation. No, you can't just flatten the curve and say it's all the same. You can't equate pre-conscious abstraction with deliberate conscious dumbing down abstraction. That's a paradigm perception error, a pre-trans fallacy perception error. Content, context, place and intention do matter. They are not all interchangeable. From the end of the Roman Empire to the middle of the 1800s, the main purpose of painting was to tell stories and to continue to improve the rendition of the characters and the settings of the story with greater and greater realism. The highest levels of skill and technique in painting were achieved at the beginning of the 1800s in the work of David and Ingres. But the advent of photography, which could reproduce reality in a flash, and the exploration by missionaries, writers, painters and photographers of Africa led to a new romantic barbarism in painting, characterized by broad, unblended brushstrokes, bright colors, and scenes of modern life in the paintings of Monet, Renoir, Pissarro, and Degas. The Academy of Arts, like the French monarchy in 1789, was now overthrown by poor quality painters who represented and reflected the working classes instead of the ruling classes. The discovery of cave paintings in Altamira, Spain in 1879 further developed a romantic infatuation with primitive innocence in a pre-trance fallacy. The publication of Friedrich Nietzsche's Also sprach Zarathustra, in which he declared that God is dead, gave the devil full reign and destroyed all security and certainty in life, and made anything and everything possible and inevitable. As Sigmund Freud made amply clear when he published Interpretation of Dreams, which brought the unconscious and all its contents into the mainstream of human consciousness. If we look at Picasso's paintings from 1900 to 1907, we can see how dull, clinical, and uninspired they are. The poses, as much as the style of painting, is drab, lifeless, and depressed. But instead of learning to paint better, Picasso chose to paint worse. He literally gave up painting. If we follow the progression of his paintings, we can actually see the moment when he went insane, the moment when he lost his grip on reality and became discombobulated. He became mad. It's all there in black and white. There are two ways to experience unity, to be happy. One is to give up your conscious grip on reality and fall downward and become an animal through drugs, alcohol, or anger. And the other way is to go beyond mind and give up all desire and passion, and you will be happy and also aware. Picasso chose the easy route, the way that most people choose. He chose to give up his grip on reality and found another reality that bent to his will. In other words, he became insane. Here it is. Here's the moment when he gave up his sanity. The moment he starts to break the human form into odd, disparate shapes. The moment he stops seeing and starts being insane. He just threw away everything to create animal-like shapes and noises. After that, we can see he's lost all grip on reality. He's just grabbing at straws, odd shapes and bits of color in an effort to try to re-establish his grip on reality. But ultimately he prefers the broken and shattered world that he's created because it doesn't make any demands on him. Seeing better equals painting better. Ingres said that drawing is 3/4 and a half of painting. By drawing, he meant the expression, the structure, the modeling, everything, in fact, except the coloring of the picture. Caro mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor. Il tuo fedel sospiro ognor cessa crudel tanto rigor bellezza crudel, tanto rigor, caro mio ben, credimi almen. Portraits used to be an elaborate, elegant exposition of a person's life. But now, all we get is spaghetti thrown against a wall.
I'm sorry, but I must be frank with you. I think it's all nonsensical. They call themselves abstract expressionists. But what do they express? That's what I want to know.
Caro mio ben, credimi almen, senza di te languisce il cor, il tuo fedel. Surrender to what's given. Sometimes, people who want to expand your horizons just want you to take forever. Sometimes, winning gets you more enemies than friends. Sometimes, to get out, you have to go in. Sometimes you have to give up to win. Sometimes when people say they want to talk, they mean they want to dictate. Sometimes being left behind so you can sneak up front without being noticed is the best strategy. Sometimes I surrender to what's given after it's taken away. The deathly pale white skin. The suicide note. The despair and resignation made David's The Death of Marat my favorite painting when I was a teenager. Throwing yourself at a canvas is not painting. Throwing yourself at a canvas is not painting. Throwing yourself at a canvas. The hills are alive with the yearn of painting. Apotheosis, the elevation of a person to divine status, deification. The hills are alive with the yearning to be painted. When I immerse an object in a body of water, the water level rises. In a similar way, painting creates invisible changes in me. Being, doing, having. Everything you have, everything you do, disappears. Only being remains. When I am painting, I need to be as alert as if I am fighting my enemy with a sword, and as quiet as if I have fallen asleep, so that I can hear the very quiet whispers that come. When people ask me what's my favorite thing about New York, I like to say, me. When you are creative, you are close to the creator, and you are like the creator. You know, when you're being creative, you allow your inner whatever it is to surface, and it has its own way and its own life, and it's very, very beautiful, because it's an expression of who you are in that moment, and it has nothing to do with any market or anybody else. It's just about you looking. It's kind of like Narcissus-like, if you like. You're looking into the pond and you're seeing your reflection. It's like, oh my God, it's so shocking, you know, and it's so beautiful at the same time. But you can't have that experience unless you're willing to take that risk of looking into the pond and seeing who's there. Drawing and painting from life is so vital. It can be really frustrating and disappointing, spending hours drawing or painting from life, and then to not get an exact likeness. Devastating. But so much learning, so much concentration, so much focus, so much understanding, shape, size, proportion, perspective, depth, and it gives you an insight into your abilities, your temperance, and your resilience. So much easier, however, to throw some paint onto a canvas and have no frustration and nothing to compare your work to. Frustration and disappointment are good lessons. The wealthier you become, the more out of touch with reality you become. Stay poor, stay authentic, be real. But have some money in the bank. October 18th, 1851. Moby Dick by Manhattan-born Herman Melville is published. I said to a woman, "That reminds me of Moby Dick." And she said, "Who's Moby Dick?" Hello? From 1561. Have nothing, do nothing, be nothing, to attain everything. Nothing begets everything. Signs of New York. Signs you're in New York. Signs of New York. Signs you're in New York. Mussolini, original Che. I'm saving the planet. What are you doing? Keep dogs away. Hades, Purgatory, Arcadia. Please, no pissing or shitting. People live here. 9/11, ha ha ha. Botticelli Souls. Marguerite. Check handmade glass. 103. Untitled. Untitled, untitled, untitled. Couldn't someone with so much imagination think of a title? Morrissey. This is my body. This is my blood. Rockefeller Center. Human being. Louis Vuitton. Double rainbow. Doorway to heaven. End. Abstract painting is so hard. First you do it for love, and then for a few close friends, and then for money. Which is why all artwork is like prostitution, says Molière. Too rude for the Louvre. I am hereby sponsoring a petition to remove the painting that recently appeared in the reception area. This would be the one with the blobby round circles and the squiggly lines at the bottom. If you would like to join this petition, please respond to me, Bobby. Bravo, Bobby. Thanks for having the courage to call out garbage. I'm with you. Let's get this crap off the wall. On the petition front, we are running 20-1 for removal, Bobby. On the petition front, we are now at 35-4 for removal, Bobby. In 1941, Marcel Duchamp filled a flask with some air in Paris and called it art. In 2025, David Arthur Simons filled a jar with some air from Manhattan and called it Nietzsche. New York City hot head air. On Mother's Day, we think of our father. better to visit the cloisters one time than the Guggenheim a dozen times. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? Nah, Bobby, nah. This is just demagogic, all-inclusive, curve-flattening, apple and oranges equating smear of reality. There's not many roads a man must travel. There's only one road to manhood, man. When you have a child and become a father, you become a man. It's a walk in the forest, Bobby. How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Doves don't sail, Bobby. They fly, and they don't sleep in the sand. Only flags of people defending their territory get planted in the sand, Bobby. Listen, how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? Nah, Bobby, nah. Not defend the territory, Bobby? Are you crazy? Only because of secure borders are you able to sing your deluded, naive, confused and crowd false hope pacifying songs.
You know, I guess I was known as never one of them rock and roll singers that was going to win any Nobel Prize.
Only the drunk think they are free, Bobby. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Nah, Bobby, nah. If that's where your answer is, Bobby, you got the question all wrong. The only question worth asking, Bobby, is, who am I? Every moment is a dance.
I'm a poet, verse.
And so there's the old thing, you know, you do the work, you get seen, and now they know that you can do the work, so they start offering jobs.
Art made for others isn't art, it's propaganda. Power plus money doesn't equal art. Power plus money equals propaganda. Hollywood. Every moment is a dance.
I'm a poet, verse. And a man, second. It's poetry, I'm gonna serve.
Times Square. Times Square. Times The measure of a man is in his ability to reflect upon himself and reproduce himself accurately. The strength of a man shall be in his ability to know himself by accurately reflecting on and portraying himself. This is the moment when culture went mad. The future of a man shall be in his ability to look and portray himself realistically. In the future, we will all be blurred. Love don't, love don't, love don't. Don't love abstractions. Love a person, don't love humanity. Love a tree, don't love ecology. Love a mark, don't love Marxism. Love realism, don't love abstraction. Your move. Nothing to it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to show here. Nothing to learn here. Nothing to gain here. Nothing to win here. Nothing to lose here. Nothing to build on here. Nothing to grow on here. Nothing to understand here. Nothing to appreciate here. Nothing to write home about. God will deliver you overnight if you call.
I had wanted many years ago, when I was in art college, to go to New York to see Lou Reed, Patti Smith, and Todd Rundgren, of course. But it all seemed too difficult then. I had no idea how to buy an airline ticket or even how to use the phone. All I knew was how to paint, and even that, not in the style of the day. I was living in a world of my own, convinced that someday New York would come to me. Yes, that's right, New York would come to me. If I stood still in the same place long enough, the whole world, the whole universe would come to me. New York would come to me.
Nah, I don't want to be toasted to town. Ideas come from all over the place, shot like arrows on a battlefield, and they come at the most unexpected times. They just drop in uninvited, unannounced, and unexpected. Sometimes they sneak in quietly. At other times, they pounce on you out of the blue. Almost always, they catch you unprepared. And you'd best drop everything and take notes. If not noted immediately, they will be lost forever. They are often the most surprising and bewildering intersections of time, space, and objects. They come when I'm doing something boring and repetitive, and I'm completely disarmed and relaxed. Showering, kissing, walking up or downstairs. After the disastrous surgery on my right hand, I noticed small lumps began to appear on my left hand. But the ring finger, which is considered the most prone to Dupuytren's contracture, remained unaffected. I concluded that the rings on that finger had affected the flow of electromagnetic energy traveling through the body and blocked the development of Dupuytren's. I quickly put rings on all the other fingers of my left hand. The lumps diminished and stopped. When I told doctors of my discovery, they laughed at me. The lumps have not advanced though, and I'm the one laughing now. When I went to Jean Cocteau's burial chapel at Milly-la-Forêt, I expected to be greatly welcomed by a long-lost friend, but I had misread the opening times, the chapel was closed, and there was no one there. I recognized, sadly, that I had not been part of Jean Cocteau's life, as he had been a part of mine. When I was a child and a teenager up to the age of 18, my mother used to beat me frequently. Now I don't like being touched. Don't smear, splatter, drip, splash, drip, blur, splatter, abstract art is a slap in the face. Abstract art has robbed us of the view. Nothing left. Not monumental, not colossal, not thought-provoking, not profound, not evocative, not poignant. How did we, as an advanced, sophisticated culture, come to accept that scratches, splashes, drips, and smears were an expression of sophistication and refinement? Who pulled the wool over our eyes, and why do we go on accepting this? Oh, it's the pre-trans fallacy.
Police, come out with your hands up. You're under arrest for perverting reality.
During one of my first eyes open meditation when I was 18, I sat staring at the instructor. I began to see a red aura around everything, including the instructor. Then the instructor's head disappeared, and her whole body became powdery grey and completely vanished. Then my eyes began to tear. I like drawing. It makes me look at things closely and intensely, to see the shapes and interconnections and colors, and then find ways to reduce each shape into a form I can draw. The eye-hand coordination creates immense and intense concentration and a sense of connection between me and the object I'm drawing, and often screens out everything else. It's a form of communion and transubstantiation that results in a drawing. The deeper my emotional connection with an object is, the more accurate the likeness of my drawing will be. And after it's finished, best to destroy it, lest others try to make money out of it. 50% of domestic violence is committed by men. The other 50% of domestic violence is committed by women. However, 93% of persons who risk their lives for a stranger are men. Against abortion? Have a child. Let me not be seduced by the drugs of success, fame, and praise. Let me do my work for its own sake. Let not other people's love become my prison. Let me labor in the purity of the task. Let me be filled with the wonder of discovery. Let me not be tied to the albatross of reward.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
No, you're not.
Everyone is an American today.
Not really. But Anita was right. We are all gay now. When you are equal, you are just a number. When you are included, you are reduced to lowest common denominator. When you measure by diversity, you remove all individuality. Admittedly, the art world is very insular, corrupt, elitist, and exclusive. So it makes sense that some people want to have their work seen, even if no one in the art world wants to let them show it. So graffiti makes sense in a way, but it's a plague now. Would you rather spend several hours diligently observing and drawing, and then carefully painting your subject? Or would you rather be a pre-trans victim and just scribble a few lines and then claim them to be whatever you say they are? If you ask me what I have come to do in this world, I who am an artist, I will reply, I am here to live my life out loud. Emile Zola. Don't live your life out loud. Living out loud is a lie. Listen to the inner voice. Live quietly in. They hate it. The critics, the media, and academics, they hate it. They hate it when you name and define yourself and set your own standards. Thomas Kincaid, painter of light. Monet was the painter of light. No, Monet didn't paint light. He just used broad brushstrokes to create colorful surfaces. And he didn't even use any black. Thomas Kincaid was the painter of light. Turner was the painter of light. No, he just used broad brushstrokes to create colorful surfaces. Thomas Kincaid painted light. Let us sing of the men who brought us here, of the brave, courageous men who built climbed, flew, bridged, defended,
down 2.5.
sang, painted, wrote, drew, painted, meditated, gave up their lives to get us here. My father's father's father. My father's father. My father. Let us sing of the men on whose stories we build our stories. Let us sing of the men who foretold our stories. Let us sing of the men whose stories are our stories. Let us sing of the men who invented our stories. Let us sing of the men who sang of our stories. If civilization had been left in female hands, we would still be living in grass huts. Camille Paglia. Let us sing of the men who painted us out of the Dark Ages. And brought us into the light, so we could see things as they really are.
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
All I wanted was to paint,
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
All I wanted was to paint,
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
All I wanted was to paint,
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
All I wanted was to paint,
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
All I wanted was to paint, All I wanted was to paint,
I was trying to be a painter, you know, I only wanted to be a painter.
Imagination is the problem. Don't imagine. Be.